All right. Here we are. Rick Renee here. We're about ready to start a quick live stream on elite criminals of deep state and how they're in deep trouble. So this will be a little bit more detailed than the video I did, I guess, last week. And it's really going to talk about the military and the NSA STORM that's taking down these elites. So it's an exciting time to be alive right now, and we're going to go over this pretty quickly. I got a ton of information I'm going to go over. It's going to be a little more detailed than what I did last time. But this video really is for people who really aren't into politics heavily or don't understand the libertarian view at all and don't understand why people could support Trump, for instance. I'm a past Democrat, heavy Democrat. I really have a passion and love for both true liberal Democrats and conservatives coming together as we the people. It's a great melting pot, and I have a heart for that. So this video is for people who really just don't understand what's going on in the world in detail and don't understand what's going on outside of the mainstream media. And so this can be a very powerful video for those who really want to know the truth about things versus sometimes what the propaganda media want you to know. So we're going to quickly go over through this. Now, the three main things we're going to focus on here is the deep state criminal control of the mass media, which is called Operation Mockingbird. We'll talk about what that is. We'll get into how the elites are against we the people. And this is not a left versus right thing. It's a big, big theme I'm going to have throughout the series, is because we need to come together to fight corruption, right? And that really is going to it's going to really force us to have to take our political hats off, right and left, and think love of the country, think love and patriotic, think patriotism. Let's really understand this is not left versus right. It's really corruption and evil versus what's right for everybody in the country, right? And again, these elite criminals are wanting money and power, and they're doing it obviously illegally. That's why they're called criminals. And there's a ton of it that have infiltrated all parts of our government over the last 50 years, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And we'll talk about the storm. There's a theme about the calm before the storm, but really starting October 30th, November, this storm is here. It's a silent civil war. It's between the military and the NSA versus these criminal elites. So it's quite an exciting time that everybody needs to become aware of and start taking action on. And again, we're also being informed about this storm, and it's from this QAnon source and other sources from people that are really honest journalists, independent, not controlled like much of the media is. And so it's important to understand who those sources are and get to them, and we'll let you know at the end of this video. Okay, so let's go through this real quick. Now, here we are. We're now going to go through that first item. The CIA, deep state criminals, they control the mass media, and it's called Operation Mockingbird. In fact, this was always labeled a conspiracy theory, right, or conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy theory if you believe in Operation Mockingbird, which basically stated that the CIA was actually placing as double agents and paying off people in the media to basically take their propaganda and their narrative that they wanted into all parts of the media. Well, pretty much the new JFK files that were just released, which isn't being covered by the media much at all, confirmed the existence of Operation Mockingbird. And it's not a conspiracy theory. And it's really, we believe it's expanded massively. So we'll talk about that as we get into a little more detail. CIA corruption in the deep state, spying. You've probably heard quite a bit about this going on right now with the FBI and Justice Department. But it really started with the CIA. The CIA in WikiLeaks Vault 7 exposed a lot. We'll go through that. And we'll go through these talking points. This is literally so corrupt. The CIA and the deep state is so corrupt that they've got control of thousands of now these media, double agents in the media, that get talking points at 4 a.m. and then you're brainwashed. You basically don't get truth in especially when it comes to politics, political media. No, you get talking points of propaganda that they want you to hear, and they're trying to control you. They control the narrative. They control you. So if you want to get out of that, you got to understand what's going on. Now, the JFK files released quite a bit of stuff, and I'm not expecting to be able to read these details here, but basically this clearly showed that the Operation Mockingbird was there. They had 40 double agents. The CIA admitted it. This just got released. It's been hidden from us for 50 years, right? And they had 40 of them, and at least one of them was with all the major journals covering the JFK murder, right? And the whole Warren report that was a farce. We know now that was a farce as we get more detail into the JFK files. So, and also here's another one down here that actually talks about the details. And I'm sorry. This one here actually talks about the CIA hit list. So I'm going to go over a few CIA issues that the JFK files found out. This first one was the hit list, and this clearly showed amounts they paid, bounties they were paying to basically out people or get them murdered as true hit lists from the CIA. Here's another one that talked about they actually worked with criminal organizations. So here's the CIA justifying working with other criminal organizations, organized criminals. And that's been hidden as force for 50 years. And that was happening back then, and it's obviously happening today as we're seeing. Here's another thing that happened, Vault 7. This is important. If you guys just go research Vault 7 and research, you'll see WikiLeaks have posted what the CIA already unfortunately let leak out, and that is massive surveillance of us. They literally were taking control of they had software out there to actually control your Samsung smart TV when it's off, and it would actually record you even with no lights on, right? Complete spying on the American public. And they have all kinds of tools that were released in here that about what they can do with your phones and all kinds of things that you do not want to have happen as far as spying. As you know, the NSA and Snowden was busted for this, and the NSA's cleaned up their act and moved more and got more sophisticated tools, and they put them on these criminal elites. So the NSA has become kind of white hats helping get rid of these criminals, trying to expose them. But the CIA basically recreated everything the NSA did and then some, and is using it on the common American citizen illegally. And we're starting to find that out now in Vault 7. So go look at Vault 7. It's an important part showing that the CIA, at least the rogue agents within the CIA, are being very dishonest. If you look at now the Mockingbird was confirmed. This is what I was trying to show earlier. This is where they talked about 40 double agents and one that was literally looking at the assassinations probe and was part of a couple major newspapers, and they were a double agent for the CIA. So they could cover up things. That's just wrong, obviously. That's not a free press. That's propaganda, controlled media. And the CIA has been doing it for years. Here in there's another document that also referred to Mockingbird, showing it's not a conspiracy theory. It was true, and now it's expanded wildly. In fact, if you look at Anderson Cooper, he was a CIA intern, and if you look at his family history and go dig into that, you'll see he's clearly linked to the elites, and they want the elite agenda coming to you, and it's completely controlled. So it's really important. Now, some of the people in the media might be honest, but still controlled. How do they do that? Just like in The Firm with Tom Cruise, right? And if you look at that movie, they were literally, he didn't even know it, but eventually he found out they were recording and videotaping him everything. And they were trying to catch him and setting him up to have an affair on his wife, right? And so we believe that's happening tremendously. These elites are trying to control more and more and more every year. And over the last 50 years, it's become just systemic in the whole system. And so if there's even an honest reporter, they may drug them and get them and take pictures of them with small children, for instance, or just with underage girls, get them on video, and then they have control over them, just like in the Firm. So the deep state they've grown, they've expanded way beyond the power that they should have, and the CIA is the crux of this. Obviously, it's not just the CIA, as we're finding out with the corruption that's going on in the FBI and the Justice Department right now. But the crux and the control of the media is the CIA. Now, if you look at The Matrix, we talked about this in other videos, right? A great movie. You got to see it if you haven't seen it, right? So this was about this guy in the front here. In the front is Neo, and Neo, the character, was in the Matrix. He was plugged into the Matrix, and he was basically had an alternative reality. It was fantasy, right? And he's offered a choice by Morpheus, the African American over there in the sunglasses. And then Morpheus is basically trying to unplug him from the Matrix and get him reality. And so he actually offers him at the top here these the blue and the red pill, right? You can see here's Morpheus in his glasses, and there's Neo grabbing the red pill. So the blue pill, you stay in the Matrix, you're controlled, and it's fantasy. And if you only listen to the MSM, CNN, ABC, MSNBC, you only read the New York Times, read the Washington Post, read Time Magazine, even USA Today, you're going to be completely controlled because they're completely Operation Mockingbird. They're blue-pilled. Okay, and that's and unfortunately, and I understand, and I have a heart for those people who just watch mainstream media and they're being controlled. They're going to be completely hatred of Trump, right? They're going to think he's the biggest bimbo in the world. They're going to not understand reality about what's going on right now between the military and NSA. They're completely blue-pilled. So it's important to unplug from the Matrix, become free from that, get to reality, get to truth. And that's what we're going to dig into a little bit now. Now let's look at this. We're going to look at some more stuff here, like the criminal elites of the CIA, right? The criminal elites in the CIA, they need Trump eliminated. Trump's a huge threat, right? Because he is not of the elite, and he doesn't care about Republicans or Democrats from that perspective as far as the establishment, and he's just doing what he thinks best for America, and he's against the world elites and the deep state and Hollywood, and that's why you see hatred for him coming from Hollywood, hatred from academia, hatred from the deep state, hatred from the world elites. They want him eliminated, and that's why they even set up the entrapment with the FBI and the DOJ, as we're seeing now. And you can recognize this really easy. I don't have to prove to you anything. All you do is have to recognize it and look for this exact phrasing that will daily come across in those 4 a.m. private emails to all these controlled media people, and they'll always say the same thing. It's propaganda, MSM propaganda. Here's some talking points examples. When Hurricane Harvey came out, right, we had lack of empathy, lack of empathy, lack of empathy. I mean, I could not believe how many times I heard that or saw that in the paper. It's ridiculous. Lack of empathy came out everywhere because that was the talking point that came to them at 4 a.m. Controlling you and what you should think of Trump, right? Charlottesville, that was Trump is a racist. He's a Nazi. Here's the president that supports Israel more than any other president in history, and they're calling him a Nazi. Okay, that doesn't make sense, but it is the talking point to basically separate us, get us fighting. That's what they are wanting to do. We'll get in that in a little detail here in a second. Then here's the most recent one that can be really recognized, and you'll see this week and next week as well, because it's important with the memo coming out. You know, the memo they talk about, which is really showing clearly that the DOJ and FBI were trying to entrap Trump, and they were spying on him. And in fact, the Obama administration was spying on him even before the FISA warrant. That's what they're trying to cover up with the FISA warrant. And so it's just kind of a fact. It's pretty easy. It's going to come out. And so we, as the truthers in the community, wanting to get people to understand the truth, started putting out on Twitter, release the memo, right? And so that's what this is. So we had released the memo, hashtag release the memo, right? And it started trending on Twitter and everything. So Adam Schiff and Dianne Feinstein, some of the dishonest people you're going to find out as all this criminality gets exposed. You'll see those will be two that'll be in it, but so are Republicans too, like John McCain you're going to see here in a second. So again, not left versus right, but dishonest people who've got too much power and corrupted the system to become wealthy. They gave out talking points. Those talking points it was Russian bots that were causing it to trend. That's not true. We all just want to see the memo, because the memo actually gives the facts of what was going on in a very complicated case. And so they're going to, so since that's starting to die now, because literally Twitter went back and had to show their hand that it wasn't Russian bots, it was Americans asking to release the memo. Okay, so that failed. So now they went to their next talking point the next day. It's a partisan document. And so Nunes is a Republican, so it's a partisan document. It can't be the truth. There's no truth in it. And now, why are these Democrats and these even elites and even people like McCain not wanting the memo released? Right? Because it shows their criminality. It's pretty obvious. So anybody that doesn't want that memo released, the loudest ones are most likely the biggest criminals. Right? And now they're going to go for obstruction of justice. Oh, if Trump is transparent with the American people, we're too dumb, so he's obstructing justice. So Adam Schiff is really a treasonous enemy of the state. and he is the one that's pushing the Russian narrative falsely for 11, 12 months, and is lying to you on a daily basis, and he helps create these talking points with the CIA. You can tell, because he has the same talking points. He's either creating them, or he's receiving them at 4 a.m. like everybody else, because he's on task with a talking point. And these are talking points that you'll prove to yourself. Look how many newspapers talk about obstruction of justice and partial document about this memo. And you'll see it's the specific talking points. They don't want you to know the truth. And obviously, the FBI doesn't either when it came to all the text messages that clearly showed the entrapment and spying that has been going on in the Trump campaign for quite some time. And they fibbed, obviously. They fibbed about we have no idea where we lost the 5 months of text messages. If you haven't heard about that, it might be because the channels you're listening to do not cover it very well. But there was 5 months of missing texts that clearly are going to incriminate the FBI and the DOJ for their corruption. It's something that we need to know as we the people. And we need to come together, left and right, to make sure this happens. Right? Because there's going to be a lot of Republicans incriminated just as much as Democrats. I mean, there's probably a little bit more. But again, it's not left versus right. It's what's good for the country. So again, it's supposed to be FBI, but no, it's fib. So now we even have the FBI lying to us and trying to cover up something. They said it wasn't even recorded, and then 2 days later we found them. So they lied to us about it not being recorded, those text messages. So now again, guys, this is big stuff. You want to be a part of this. There's 9,255 sealed indictments that came in less than 2 months. The normal is less than 1,000 for an entire year, right? So if you take less than 2 months, which is 6 times in a year, right? And by over 9,000, that's 40 times more than normal, right? So these sealed indictments, there's huge arrests coming. Military tribunals are coming. This was not even 2 months, all since October of 2017, not very long ago. And so they are piling up like mad. They've been building this case. The NSA and the military intelligence and Sessions have been working overtime on taking down the criminal enterprise. You're going to see the cabal, the criminal enterprise, these things that were supposed to be conspiracy theories that aren't really, are going to be come out and exposed. And it's exciting times. So get on board and become part of the red pill community, an aware person in reality versus a controlled person in fantasy land. MSM political news is fantasy land. It's talking points, propaganda crap. Okay, that's just the truth. Can't speak more clearly than that. Now, again, I'm still on this one point. Mass corruption has been exposed. This is going to be historic. This I told you about. Second point, the blue pill. Keep watching MSM and believe it if you want the blue pill. Turn off this video. Go back. Take your little blue pill. Right? I talk about this blue pill. There's a blue pill. Take it and just listen to MSM and believe what they say. Read the Washington Post and believe what it says. Read the New York Times and believe what it says. If you're doing that, reading Time Magazine and believe what it say. They are complete talking points. They're going to completely say anything they're not saying is a conspiracy theory when they're the ones purporting conspiracy theory, like the Russian narrative, right? Wasting our time and money trying to push fantasy and keep you from the red pill, keep you from actually knowing the truth. Now, if you want to take the red pill, it's pretty simple, guys. All you do is you quit watching the MSN. Don't watch CNN and MSNBC, right? Don't take Rachel Maddow and Anderson Cooper, Walt Blitzer, the people that are lying to you. Quit listening to them. Start finding independent journalists that are doing the truth. That's how you're going to free yourself and find the facts. It's important. I spent a lot of time on point number 1 here, because if you don't get this one, you're never going to come out of fantasy land. Right? So again, if you want the red pill, stop listening to the MSM. Come and look at citizen journalists that are actually being honest and doing work, right? Versus giving you narratives and propaganda. Now, to my second major point, elites are against we the people. This is not left versus right again, but elites, criminals wanting dollars and power. And again, John McCain is a perfect example. I bring him up specifically because he's a Republican, right? And a lot of this stuff's coming down on Democrats, and Democrats feel it could be partisan stuff. But no, criminals in the right are going to be exposed as well, and there's going to be a lot of it. It's not going to be just John McCain. And this is a part that I know because I've been red pilled and I've studied a lot. And you guys might think I'm crazy and think that Rick, you're a conspiracy theory person. No, it's not. This is truth if you just start looking at the facts now, guys. And that's this triangle of the most powerful, controlled U.S. politicians at all levels of government. And this triangle is interesting. And it starts with the Rothschilds. This is a list of all the central banks they own. They're absolute criminals that have been stealing from us and taking a percentage of every single bit of money they loan to both sides of wars. They want wars. They control both sides of it. They literally, we're talking about Afghanistan and Bahrain and Belgium, and there's hundreds of banks here that they're all here. I mean, we're Chile and Dominican Republic and El Salvador and Georgia and Germany and Italy and Korea, and I mean they own all the central banks, like 98% of all central banks, and they are corrupt to the core, right? And if you look at the triangle of the corruption, you really have the Rothschilds here as plus plus. Plus 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 is what QAnon called this, talking about the three triangles, right? And the House of Saud was the wealthiest, mainly because they were doing all the, you'll see this, false flags, running guns, running human trafficking, also gun running. So they're doing all those type of things. It makes tons of money, and it will infiltrated the whole world with this criminality, and they became worth more than $4 trillion, non-documented, right? But we're starting to find out that's going to come out. So just watch the news. You're going to start from coming out now. If you watch the news, you'll know that something big happened there. They seized most of the assets of those guys. They cut the puppet strings, they call it. And so that is important to know. What happened there? That was not covered very much in mainstream media. But if you go look at the red pill information, you're going to see that there's massive arrests there, massive wealth confiscated, because it was all done illegally, right? Which is a very good thing, because that cut a lot of the funding that was going to human trafficking and to a lot of the corruption that was here in the U.S. So it's a very good thing that we got that cut. Now they're after down here with George Soros. Now what Rothschilds, you see, that's a picture of them that got leaked, that they didn't want leaked, because that's them in their Illuminati dress, right? You'll see how that's the Lord Rockefeller, again, completely controlling the banks. And then George Soros' job, they're worth over $2 trillion easy, if you look at if you really understand and go do research on them. Now go look at Soros. His net worth never goes down. He's given $8 billion to his foundation. It's crazy. They think he may be worth over $1 trillion. This used to be the Rockefellers and the Bushes and people like that. So again, this is Republican and Democrats again that are completely corrupt. Soros owns this now, and his job, he's an expert at collapsing countries with currency. He's an expert at dividing people within the country and having political chaos. That's what he's doing in the United States now. Over the last few years, he's heavily trying to take down the United States. And it's sad. You need to know this. This is just factual stuff you can see with Antifa and what they're doing, and you can see all the money that he's giving in and what they stand for. It all stands for dividing us on all kinds of ways. And here's an example. John McCain, a Republican, right, with the McCain Institute, incredibly wealthy. Most likely, there's got to be money laundering there because he's very wealthy with a very limited salary. And he's got money from the Saudi Arabia. He's got money from George Soros. And here he is involved with a fundraiser by the Rothschilds. All three parts of the triangle he's involved in. Dirty, dirty, dirty stuff is happening here. And he's completely corrupt. And you can see how anti-America first he is right now. But we know why, right? Now, again, still on point number 2, criminal elites want complete control. And they want this one world government, and they need a weak America. Because it's hard to have a one world government. We have this strong America, people that love capitalism, love the Constitution that protects them. And the elites, if they're going to get to a one world government, they have to weaken America. And it's been weakened greatly over the last 20 years especially. George Bush was not much better than Obama, guys. So again, not a right versus left thing. This is elites trying to weaken us. Now the American melting pot is an incredibly powerful thing. If we come together, it makes it really hard to control us and get to a one world government. And so the plan is to divide the country by left and right. They want us to fight left and right. So those of you who don't agree with me that's not left and right, you're part of the problem. You're listening to MSM and you're listening to all this race baiting stuff and this gender battles and all these things are trying to divide us. So the elites that want to control us are trying to divide us so it'll be easier. And so that's probably best shown. You've seen me do the Rubik cubes. If we're mixed up, and again, if you look at each of the dimensions of the Rubik cube, and I like to do it sometimes here live here, it's like no matter what the race is or the color or your orientation or your political views, it doesn't matter. We're all working together, and when we do that, we become a powerful economic force and a powerful example to the world about how the great melting pot can work with different types of people and all kinds of different types of beliefs and different types of values, and we can still be great because we have the great value of patriotic America, right? So that's important, right? But what do the elites want to do? They need division. So how do they do that? They have to use the Soros methods of Saul Alinsky, which we'll get into in a second, and start separating us into this Rubik's Cube, separate us into separate areas, right? And then we fight and fight and fight and fight. And what happens, they want division at all costs. And they want to break the Rubik's Cube, destroy the melting pot. The USA melting pot's got to go. It's much easier to control. And so he's using the rules for radicals. And it's sad, guys, if you go look at the rules for radicals. You probably can't read this very well, but there's like 8 of them. I'll listen to you in a second. But this is the George Soros tactics that's working with the extreme progressive and socialist to take down capitalism and take down the world. Here's what they do. They attack healthcare. They want to control it. They attack poverty. They want to make sure there's more poverty. They want debt, massive debt, so there's instability with the currency. That's George Soros' trick, right? They want gun control so that the people can't control them. But when they come in with the military, they can't defend themselves. They want welfare because then the weak population is dependent. So if you take this, that's powerful. The people have their guns. They have they can make their choice on health care. They're not on welfare. This is powerful, right? And so the lowest unemployment rate for the blacks, most unemployment rate for the Hispanics. That's a powerful thing that's starting to happen right now. So he's got to try to make us fight. So eventually we'll fight to the point where there'll be instability, and Antifa's trying to create that, where the Rubik Cube breaks, right? So they can control us completely. We've talked about that. But Alinsky's 6th thing is education. Make sure they're controlling their education, like his now. So you teach progressiveness and socialism and how capitalism's bad and white people are racist, all that type of stuff that's coming in our education system. Then religion, you try to remove the belief in God, because that's a powerful thing too. If you take this powerful thing here and people actually love the Lord as well, that's an amazing power, right? And then the last thing is class warfare, where we see that all the time. It's just trying to fight between the different classes, etc. So that's Saul Alinsky's playbook. That's what's happening. That's what George Soros is trying to do, divide us. Let's not let it happen, guys. Now, we're going to go to the third and final point, and that is the storm of a silent civil war is here. It's happening right now. It's been happening since October. The military and NSA and the criminal elites and we the people are being informed about this now by things like QAnon, which we'll talk about in a little more detail. But right now, there's 9250, right, sealed indictments I showed you early, 40x the normal levels. There's true criminals in the media, in the academia, and the Hollywood, and the Wall Street, and the Silicon Valley, and they're being exposed. And note all the resignations that's happening. There are tons of CEOs resigning, and tons of congressmen not running for re-election. Because why? It's all these indictments. They're negotiating with them, showing them their criminality, and they're having to back off and make deals. So the lower levels that started back in January, of last year, January of last year. So a whole year ago, rolling up to some of the pedophile networks and the human trafficking networks, some of the lower people so they can build cases. Now they build all these cases with all these massive sealed indictments, and these criminals are starting to have to, and they're negotiating with them right now, especially since October. And now, and also Uranium 1, the first document was unsealed, and it was this right here. It was the Justice Department, FBI, Uranium 1. Uranium 1 was the first one that was released, but you'll see the corruption with the FBI and Justice Department and spying and wiretapping on Trump. That's just all the tip of the iceberg. That's the tip of the iceberg. There's tons more coming. Obviously, if we've only had one of the 9250 out, just think what's going to happen here. This is going to be huge, guys. Our courts will not be able to handle it. It'll have to have military tribunals because there's too much going on. Okay, now here we are. Here we are, January 15th. This is an unsealed indictment of 11-count indictment on Uranium 1 about the kickbacks and bribery. It's factual. It happened, guys. There's no question that we gave a quarter of our uranium, or 20% of our uranium, to Russia based on kickbacks and total corruption, right? And this, again, first of many dominoes. Now, back to this point number 3. Now, it's harder now to get the truth through research. Why? Because the criminal elites are part of the tech elites in Silicon Valley. They control Twitter. They control Facebook. They control YouTube. They control Google. When you do a Google search, it's compromised, guys. You need to start using DuckDuckGo or other search engines. Google is compromised. Anything you're researching on politics, you're going to get blue pill information, blue pill MSM information. So if you want the truth, you can't use Google anymore, okay? You've got to go to other search engines. There's like Bing's better than Google. Yahoo's better. It's still not great, but DuckDuckGo is where a lot of the truther community is going, because there's no filtering and putting all the MSM blue pill narrative crap at the front, because that's what you're getting when you do a Google search. Same with YouTube. You got to be careful. You got to do very specific searches. YouTube's starting to censor. They're demonetizing anybody that's giving red pill information. If you're giving anything besides the MSM narratives, they demonetize you. You don't get paid anymore. And they're shadow banning Twitter. Twitter's actually shadow banning people that have red pill information. And Facebook's doing the same thing as censoring that. Okay, now, here's an example. You can't get on Twitter, you can download on your phone as an app. There's a competitive platform named Gab, and they're more free speech oriented. But yet, both the Apple Store and the Google Play Store have banned it, right? Complete censorship. Complete censorship, right? Gab, because Twitter, anytime you go to anything that's red pill information, truth information, they'll put blue pill comments in front and let bots come in, etc. And then are filtering all the red pill stuff. It's terrible censorship that's going on right now. So you got to be careful when you're researching. Gab's a perfect example. The competitor of Twitter can't even get on a platform, which is ridiculous. Now, if you look at the Twitter employees, the ex-Twitter employee, basically saying they literally said, I have ultimate control over shadow banning people, right? So if they don't like me, they just shadow ban me. I'm sitting there tweeting away, nobody sees it, and I just think nobody's talking to me. That's shadow banning. So it's no free speech allowed on Twitter anymore. It's complete censorship. You got to understand this. If you don't understand that, you're watching too much MSM. Now here's another thing. Here's an executive order. This is huge, guys. On the December 21st of December, Trump put out literally what is hereby declare a national emergency. We're under martial law when it comes to human rights abuses. Complete martial law. The Trump administration and the government has the power to confiscate property. For a libertarian, that scares us to death. But in this situation, it's absolutely necessary. They have so much money, they could get around anything. Buy off judges, buy off juries, and so to get to military tribunals and capture their assets, so they can't do those things, is important, right? And the day this happened, Eric Schmidt from Google resigned, right? And there's a ton of other CEOs resigning. So this is no game. This storm is here, right? So if you look at that, Eric Schmidt, he literally was at Korea, probably setting up a private network for the corruption that's going on there, where the CIA is involved in getting nuclear weapons to North Korea. And you know it's very odd that they weren't supposed to have it for 5, 7, 8, 9 years, and all of a sudden they have it in less than a couple months. How'd that happen? Well, we gave it to them, right? The corruption here, they want to take down Trump and make Trump look bad, and at all costs. And Eric Schmidt was one of the guys over in North Korea. And we have pictures of him over in North Korea, and he's talking about their internet, when in reality he's setting up private networks for the CIA to be involved there. And that's coming out. How do I know that? Well, because of QAnon and other things that you'll see at the end here. And again, there's massive number of congressmen just not running for re-election. Look at it. Go research it. There's tons of them. That's great. So I forgot to update this part here, but basically they're resigning. Now, again, still on point number 3, the NSA white hats have now turned the tools against this criminal elite, which is a great thing. They're finally doing their job, right? And Annabelle Rogers is an awesome man who actually worked with the military intelligence, partnered with the military intelligence to take this elite down. They've been planning it for years, but they didn't have the power of the executive branch. So they asked Trump to run. Trump knew he'd be killed immediately, so they have military protection for him all over the place. They had to guarantee his safety. So for the first time in almost 50 years, there's a non-elite in the White House. So they hate him, and they want to use the Operation Mockingbird to make him look like an idiot, make him look like a Nazi, make him look like a white supremacist, when clearly the economy's booming, everything is happening, he's doing for we the people. So this is we the people against the elites. Be careful. I did not like Trump. Okay, I was a Democrat, right? So I know how some people feel about this, but you've got to get the red pill if you really want to know what's going on. Now, the storm is here. We're seeing planes be turned around. We're seeing the Atlanta airport shutting down, right? We're seeing these missile alerts coming in Hawaii. Another one was in Japan. And we see all this massive information coming out, one of the biggest intelligence dumps in the history of the world in 8chan with QAnon. You need to know who QAnon is. If you don't know who QAnon is, you haven't taken the red pill yet. So let me give you a little more detail. And so here's what you need to do if you really want to understand what's going on, is you've got to look for citizen journalists and stay away from any MSM. Think for yourself and do the diligence to find who you can trust and follow them, subscribe to them on YouTube. Look at Twitter on certain things I'll show you in a second, and it'll help you find the right things. Most importantly, get this in your browser. I'll put this in the links to the show notes as well. But it'll be important for you to put this qcodefag.github.io. You can search all the posts, the 600 or so posts that he's dumped, that QAnon, a group of people helping us understand all this, closely linked with the administration, the presidential administration, telling us what's going on and asking us questions so we go research the right stuff, guiding us on what to research, where all the corruption is. So lastly, guys, here we are. I just remembered I forgot to put all the bookmarks in the live podcast, etc. So I'll have to go add that here, but I'll get all this stuff added to the deal. This is what it looks like. There's a little search thing right here. Search. You can search on anything, and it's got all 600 plus posts. This is from January 22nd, but you can see all these questions that are being asked. So there's a ton of brilliant people researching these, and that's leading us to find all this corruption, all the evidence for this corruption, so it becomes very apparent. It's awakened us. It's called the Great Awakening. That's why you want to use these type of terms. QAnon, the Great Awakening, right? Follow White Rabbit, Calm Before the Storm. Look at that. Use DuckDuckGo, not Google. YouTube, there's another competitor of YouTube called Vimeo. Probably not as many videos there, though. Twitter, or Gab, go search. Hashtag QAnon. Hashtag Follow the White Rabbit. Hashtag Calm Before the Storm. Hashtag The Great Awakening. Search on the Release the Memo. And you'll start finding some of these truthers out there that are telling the truth and working their butts off to try to tell you the truth. And again, the storm is here. Hashtag We the People. Let's work together. Let's come together as a great melting pot, guys. Let's come together and quit fighting so much. I want to say, wrap up here real quick. Again, the CIA and the deep state criminals, they control the mass media completely. Thousands of double agents in the media, and as well as publications, as well as broadcasting, and as well as all these websites that are coming out now, like Snopes and stuff like that. They're completely controlled. If you listen to them, you're not getting the truth. You're in fantasy world. The elites are against we the people. It's not left versus right, guys. You need to understand that they want money and power, and they've been doing it for 40, 50 years, and each year they get more and more power and control over everybody, and they're almost ready to take over the United States. But the storm is here. This silent civil war where the military and NSA are striking back in a big way with those 9,255 or 52 sealed indictments like never before, right? So these criminal elites are in trouble, and they are against we the people, and we can get smarter by searching all those hashtags and making sure we're looking at that QAnon feed. Understand this so we can come together and take these guys down. I'm just going to take a turbo prayer real quick. Heavenly Father, just thank you so much. Please protect us from the evil here. Allow this government to be cleaned up. Heal the land. Heal the United States of America and the rest of the world, Lord. Allow these criminal elites to be completely exposed. We say these things in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Hey, God bless you guys. We'll talk to you next time.